Brent Baxter is an up-and-coming songwriter. He came to share with us tonight. So Brent is the founder of songwritingpro.com, which we'll talk about later. He's also an award-winning songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, Ray Stevens, Andy Griggs, Buddy Jewell, Lone Star, Gord Bamford, The Sound, Wilburn and Wilburn, and more. I could probably add to this list since then because you've had a few more since then, have you?
Just trying to get stuff cut out there.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Brent is also the host of the Climb Show podcast with the one and only Johnny Dwinell, and that's the only thing missing is him not here tonight. We can get in so much trouble.
So much.
So I've got some questions that I'm gonna ask Brent, and then we will open it up for questions. So if you guys have questions to be thinking of, say them. Okay, so Brent, what made you want to be a songwriter when you grew up?
Couldn't sing well enough to be a singer. No, I was, I had always been writing, and so it started off just like always, like before they were called dad jokes, they were just bad puns, corny puns, and I was that guy, like that kid growing up, always that. Got into comic books when I was young, and was just like drawing, making up my own characters, writing like short stories, that kind of stuff. It transitioned into like, well, I was still doing that, but then I like added in like really bad poetry because of like girls in high school didn't like me back, that kind of stuff. And then it was actually in college when a buddy took what I thought was a poem, but it was structured like a lyric and put melody to it, and I was like, oh, hello. And so I was like, oh, this is much more fun than just like writing some bad poetry that ends up in a notebook and no one ever sees it, or also more collaborative and more fun and kind of quicker return than writing short stories that I could turn in for extra credit in my honors English class. And it's like I'm in college and I don't care about extra credit. And so then I started writing songs because it was fun. It was like I could hang out with my buddy Tim and write songs, and we were just, this was like '94, so we're talking like 90s country, heyday, Garth, and all that stuff. And so we were just ate up with it, and so that's just how I got into it. So it wasn't until like looking back on it a few years into it, going, oh, I've always been a writer. Like I just didn't think about that. It was just something fun to do. Then I look back and go, oh, this is kind of how I'm geared. Like always playing with words and that kind of stuff. So not musically inclined, sing like a horse, and just that part of it was frustrating. But if I sit down with pen and paper or digital version thereof, then I felt like I got return on that investment. I felt like, oh, I came out ahead on this deal. The other thing, I just came out frustrated most of the time. Right. And my roommates didn't really enjoy my singing and playing either. Poor guys. So, anyway.
But you said something I want to go back to for a second. You talked about you couldn't sing where the lyrics, all you could do was write lyrics.
I was 17, and on my way back I remember when it happened, first time I sang on key on purpose. Driving back from my mom and I had to help her, and she had to like help sign papers for me because I was 17 going into college. I couldn't even sign like the lease on my like apartment in college. And I think we stopped somewhere, and this was in Jonesboro, Arkansas, so go Red Bulls. But stopped and like had the John Michael Montgomery single of I Love the Way You Love Me. And so it was like an hour, 15-minute drive back to the house, and my mom can sing. And anyway, we just put that in, and we just kept like working on it. She's like, I love, and eventually like it hit it, and I'm like, oh, that's what that sounds like when you're on key. So like, oh, this is the first time ever.
First time for everything.
Like. Anyway, sorry.
I feel like that's a song.
First time for everything should be.
Well, I wanna sit on that for a second. Actually, I think it was on my list, but maybe it was. We have some people in this group that are just lyricists.
Cool.
And so, can you speak to that for a minute? Because I think sometimes we have this idea that we have to sing or we have to be able to create melodies or not really a songwriter.
Right.
So, can you talk to that? Talk about that for a second?
I mean, I've seen stuff online that I'm sliding out this chair all the time. That they're just some haters. I've seen people go, "Oh, you aren't songwriters if you aren't. If you're just lyricists, you're a poet." No, that's cool. That's dumb. That's just people hating online. Don't listen to those people. Yeah, you're a songwriter. If you write lyrics, I mean, as far as ASCAP and BMI are concerned, I'm a songwriter. Right. So you have value to bring to the room. You just got to find like anyone else, you got to find your tribe, find the people that get it, the people that value what you bring to the table, and then you just got to work really hard at it like you would no matter what your skill set is to maximize the skill set that you have. Yeah. And so you can totally get cuts and make relationships and be a valued contributor, co-writer, all that stuff. You're just not going to be getting solo rights cut if you're a lyricist.
Right.
But that's all right. It's more fun to play with others.
Well, so let's segue to that. Let's talk about co-writing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that's become more popular in Nashville over the last couple of years. Can you talk to the importance of co-writing and building your tribe and how that all comes together?
Yeah, I think Nashville's been a co-writing town for way longer than
Right.
way before I ever moved there. But I think so what's become really the deal is like the artists co-writing, getting camped up and then trying to build the rooms and trying to get the outlet in the room. So as far as co-writing, I think a few reasons why that's so prevalent in Nashville. One, you have people that have complementary skill sets, and there's not always good at the same thing, right? So I need to co-write. I'm going to have a chance to get a song recorded or anything that anyone would even want to hear. And there are other people that are stronger melodically, and they bring different skill sets. So we find each other, and so there's that. It's more fun. It makes you show up because it's harder. There's accountability built in. There's just, two heads are better than one, or three heads, and 4 heads maybe gets dumber than 2, but I don't know. But it depends on the room, I guess. So there's that part of it. There's also the political part of it, where if there are 2 published songwriters from different publishing companies get in the room and they write a song, then now they have 2 camps pushing the song. You have 2 writers pitching it, hopefully, and then you also have 2 publishing companies working it. And so that just gives you better chances of getting the song to the right person at the right time. So there's that part of it too. These days it's much more, and it's been in LA like this way for a long time as far as like writing with the artist, writing with the producer. It's getting more so that way in Nashville these days, and it may change back, I don't know, but it is right now. And so it's much more about like artists aren't cutting as many outside songs. Generally in country, not Southern gospel is different. CCM's definitely camped up with artists and producer writers. So it's more like we just actually what dropped on the podcast. I guess today we were talking to someone from Demolition Music, A&R manager there, Alyssa, and a lot of it is like trying to build rooms, trying to get their writers in the best rooms they can. But what value can we bring from our end to get us in the room with this artist or this producer, or if we represent the artist, how to get them in with the best writers and that whole kind of thing. Like how do we build this room where if magic happens in this room, the yes person is already in this room. Meaning, like you and I write a song, then, okay, I'm not an artist. Well, you do release your stuff. Let's say we're writing for someone else, right? Okay, we got to go get someone to say yes to that song. Whereas me, you, and what's your name? Tucker. And he's got a record deal and all that stuff, then we just got to then Tucker's already invested in it.
Right.
And we can write for him and go, would you say this? Would you say this? Is that Ozark Soul enough for you? Okay, great. Then, and, we got the inside track, and then if he loves it, he takes it into his camp, and if he has the leverage, he can just go, I'm cutting this. Or at least he can present it, and you have kind of an inside track. It doesn't guarantee anything, but that's a big part of it these days, is trying to build a good room where it can win. Not that you can't if you don't. Even if, so there's still sometimes I just write with other writers and just try to write the best thing we can. Sometimes we will just take it and go, okay, that's a song start. Let's shop this around and see if we can get somebody interested to rope in the artist or someone and say, hey, we already have a running start. Here's the thing we got started. We like this, and then that'd be like, and hopefully, ideally, they go, man, that's awesome. Yeah, one in, because you're showing up as a solution and as an opportunity, not as something may happen today or may not. I don't know. I'm having to say yes to a maybe, but if you present something that they're already digging, then they go, oh, I already know I like it.
Right.
So,
for those of us who don't know what a song start is, explain that.
It's like a verse and a chorus of a song with lyric and melody. It might have like a complete track to it, so it's like a demo with just. We don't have words for the second verse or for the bridge. They're all different kind of configurations of it, but it's that sort of thing. It's like a good running head start. More than just an idea and a concept, it is like laying it out so they go, oh, that's what this is. That's a jam.
Right.
Yes, let me jump on board.
So if you've got an artist, we'll use Tucker as an example because he's an amazing artist, by the way. The dude can sing the phone book. He's amazing. we bring an idea to you, we bring a song start to you with a first verse and a chorus, you're gonna probably come in as a writer on that because you're an artist, and you can say, hey, I love this idea, we're gonna finish writing it together, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Yes?
So if you don't have direct access to an artist, which many of us don't, who does it make sense to pitch a song start to, and who does it not make sense to pitch a song start to?
I'd say it makes sense to pitch a song start to anyone who you feel like that you want to build a relationship with, that you want to build networking with, or whatever. I mean, I still bring my version of song starts into co-writes with people that don't have record deals or whatever, just somebody I want to write with. And so for me, it would be like a hook and an idea, some lyric, that sort of stuff. It's kind of like a song start, at least from my end. So you can use it for any room that you want to get into, for whatever reason. It might just be, hey, they're a great writer. I feel like they're like rung above me on the ladder, so I want to bring this in so they go, oh, that's cool. I want to write on that. Now I'm playing a bigger game. I'm writing with somebody who has more connections than I do. It could be that sort of thing.
Do you think that a plugger or a publisher would rather hear a finished song?
Yeah, a plugger or a publisher would probably rather hear a finished song. Want to know that you can bring it to completion,
Gotcha.
that it's there, because then you're showing up like an opportunity. Go, if we love this, hey, can we pitch it to get a cut? If you bring part of a song, it's still like work for them to go, I'd have to do stuff. Who can I find to bring in on this?
Gotcha.
Maybe if it's amazing, they may go, oh, yeah, everything's negotiable if it's amazing.
Right.
Right.
Most things just aren't.
So your song
a lot of it is. So it's hard.
Your song starts are going to be for your artists or your co-writers that you're going into the room with.
Yeah, or producers that write or that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we're songwriters and we want to get in the room with artists. How do we do that?
Yeah. Probably get them before their jelly roll kind of thing. Get them in prison. No.
We were just talking about that.
Captive audience, right? Yeah. No, but really, your best chance is to get them before they're signed, before everyone else is trying to get to them, when they're more accessible. Yeah, it kind of depends on genre too. Like I do stuff in the Southern Gospel world; they're more accessible. I mean, you can go out to their show when they come to Branson or wherever. When they're at Silver Dollar City, and go just talk to them. Like, hi, I'm da da da, and then a lot of times they may give you an email address, or stand in line, buy a hat, buy whatever, and so you're automatically showing bringing value because you're putting money in the gas tank for the bus for the next stop, and then you strike up a conversation. And I find them pretty accessible. Like I've gotten co-writes out of that. We had Southbound, who's a Southern Gospel group that had number ones. They came to town and they came to Joplin, so I took my kids out there and they had a blast in the front row, and then went and bought a hat and struck up a conversation. And it's a little different for me too because I have track record and I've already had hits in that world and stuff. But still, they were before they knew that they were very chatty. And, so they're more accessible than like a country artist.
So you started out writing in just country music, and then you kind of went into the Southern Gospel world. How did that happen?
A buddy that I've been writing with years before, a guy named Jason Cox. So we started writing like country songs in like 2006. Maybe I met him. So for several years we wrote just aimed at country stuff. And then we just kind of lost track of each other. And he started moving in more and more into the, into the gospel world. I'm not sure how he got into that, but he's a worship leader and all that stuff. So started writing that and just killing it and just doing really well. And I was just at a point in my life where I was looking to kind of expand as well. I felt like I had more to say in that. So I called him up and was like, hey, what's going on in that world? Is it cool if I bring you some ideas or whatever? I'd love to try my hand at some of that. And I was very fortunate that since we built that relationship, he knew and the whole know, like, and trust thing. You have to know you, like you, and trust you. So he knew me, he liked me, and he trusted me that I'm a good writer. And I would bring value to the room. So he brought me in with him and Kenna West. They write like every Thursday and a half for years. And Kenna's had at this point, like 35, 36 number ones. And he's had a bunch too. So I was very blessed to, because of past experience and relationship, step into a very high level room in that world. And then that opened up some other stuff. And so there's some of that like country cool cliche, cachet that I could bring to that, like, oh, you had Pets by Alan Jack, even though they had way more number ones, maybe some of those people I write with, as in that world, like, oh, it's the country world, that's cool. You know, it's like musicians want to be actors, so that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that opened doors. So I just started meeting people and trying to, we were blessed to have some success pretty early on because I was in a great room. And they pitched and got a cut, and then that just opened up more doors, and just trying to, not knock on as many as I should. Do that more, but, so I just kind of weave that into, my portfolio, I guess.
So you mentioned know, like, and trust, and you mentioned relationships a couple different times. I think it's so important for us to truly understand that the value of relationship. I mean, we have to be good songwriters. For the most part. There's some stuff out there that, anyway. We need to be good songwriters, but we also have to build those relationships. We have to network. And I mean, I know, just speaking for me, I just keep learning about that more and more and more and more and more. How did you start building relationships and getting your foot in the door?
Partly through NSAI. So I was an NSAI member back in the 90s in Bono, Arkansas. They had a chapter out in the town outside of where I went to college. So that's kind of where I learned about NSAI. And so, getting educated there and going to meet people there. And so when I started, I made my first trip to Nashville, my first pilgrimage, probably like spring break in '97 when I was in college. And so Tim and I went and we did he was like my one co-writer, and we did all the stuff, And then I graduated to grad school, got out, went to Little Rock, and Tim had moved there too for some extra schooling and stuff. And so ended up meeting some guys that tried to start a publishing company in Little Rock, but they knew somebody at RPM Music in Nashville, so we made a trip and introduced me to Norman DeVasier and got to play some songs for him. Called before trips at the time I was an ASCAP member, and called to get meetings played for people there. Mike Doyle, who was funny, ended up being like one of my song players later on at Major Bob years later. And RPM, my first publisher to walk into, ended up being my publisher years later as well. So it's funny how that stuff comes back around. But so making trips, because in Little Rock, my buddy Timmy played out. They had a writers around, which was really unusual. But I heard about it, so I signed him up for it because he was the singing half of our partnership. And met those guys, and they knew somebody in Nashville. So we drop in to see Norman at RPM when we making trips, and then just trying to keep an eye on the local music scene, which was not much. I mean, I'm sure it's much better in Branson, this area, right? But especially at the time of Little Rock, there wasn't much. I remember seeing in the Little Rock, whatever the paper was at the time, that Erin Enderlin was going to be coming and playing she's going to be in over spring break and playing a pizza place. And I'd heard about her through those same guys that knew the publisher. And I've been hearing her name. I heard some of her songs from a comp they gave me, so I'm going to go out and see her. And she knew who I was a little bit because she'd seen something that I'd signed him up for to play at or whatever. She'd heard a little bit of my stuff. And so when she was coming back over summer break, we started writing together because she was in Conway, which is also in Central Arkansas. And then it's right there, as I showed you. And then I'm like, why do I do this? Central Arkansas. The map in my head is this big, and it's right there. Anyway, so we started writing together, and then over Christmas break, we wrote together, and then I ended up moving to Nashville. So I was just trying to grow where I was planted and try to meet people there, start making trips, get into the NSAI stuff, PRO meetings. And then, once I moved to Nashville, I knew Erin, and then I'd go see her whenever she'd play out at French Quarter Cafe and these other small places or whatever. And then I'd look and see who's sitting on the right and left of her in the round, and I'd just go up and say hi to them. Maybe she played one of our songs, maybe she wouldn't or whatever, but it gave me an excuse as someone who didn't play out and still doesn't play out to go, hey, I wrote with her, you're in the round, you hear that she's good, therefore hopefully some of that rubs off on how you think about me. Or she might introduce us or whatever, and then that gave me some more people to know. Right, wrote with several of them, and then I'd go to their rounds and see who was sitting on either side of them, and just started working my way through that. But yeah, it was just kind of.
And so that all probably happened in the course of a year, and then you were a hit writer.
That's how that happened.
Yeah.
So started writing in Christmas break in '94. First time Tim put up that. Lyric I thought was a poem to music. Moved to Nashville. Met Erin in No, I probably met her in 2001. Moved to Nashville 2002. And actually did move pretty fast just because we were Monday morning church, still back in Arkansas. And then she brought it back to Nashville. I moved to Nashville shortly thereafter. And she met a publisher, was working with him. So she'd already, like, boots on the ground and working at getting some attention because she's freaking good. Even though she's still in college, she's really good.
She's do you guys know who he's talking about?
Erin Enderlin. So she's
amazing writer.
Yeah, great songwriter.
Yeah.
But she was a college student at the time. But like good writer. Like there's something there, you know. And so she met a publisher through one of her classes. She was like a music business or songwriting major or something at MTSU, and he started working with her. And one of the songs we written, Monday Morning Church, was on her first demo session ever, and he pitched it around. And this guy had been in the business forever, so he was able to get it to the Alan Jackson's camp, and he got it to Alan, and then he cut it. And so it happens the way you think it should, but it really never does. But yeah, that was it. And that's the thing, like Erin was a hit writer, but she wasn't when we wrote it. It was like we were supposed to write that first hit together.
Right.
So it's both of our first cut. Other than like friends or yourself kind of cutting stuff. But it was trying to meet as many people as I could, write with as many people as I could, and just do the best work I could.
Yeah.
And get it out there.
So you wrote a hit for Alan Jackson. You got an amazing publishing deal. You
Nowhere to
made
go but
millions.
level off.
Life was amazing, and
Easy
and no cuts and bruises from there, right?
None at all. It's been just an unbroken string of green lights and nowhere to go but level off. No, and then that helped me get my first publishing deal because I couldn't get arrested. Before then I'd call people up and say, "Hey, I'm a songwriter." And I'm like, okay. Can I bring some songs by? And if I got a yes, then I never hear back. And Monday Morning Church was on that comp that I gave to everybody because it was just about my only Nashville demo at that point, other than stuff my buddy had cut like in Little Rock for one of his projects. And I knew it was one of my best songs, and so, get nothing back on it. Everybody passed on it. The people I could play for it all passed on it. And it's really sad. I'm like, yeah, I like it though. And then the song got cut, and then people started answering calls. So,
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny how that works. And all of a sudden, everyone loved it. Like, oh, this is such a brilliant song. Like, yeah, we were like a year ago, and everybody passed on it.
Yeah.
Like publishers and everyone, and I can see why they would, but that is one of the funny things about the business. It's so, Dean Miller has a song called Music Executive, and there's a line in there, the guy goes, it's from the point of view of a music executive, he goes, I don't know what I think about your song yet, I haven't played it for anyone yet. I don't know what to think about it, I haven't played it for anyone.
Now,
So there's a little bit of that, nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. And,
did Terry Clark have that song?
Yeah, she had it on
for a
hold.
minute? Okay.
Yeah, so Jeff Carlton was Erin's publisher that she met while she was in college and started working with stuff. He music industry veteran, so been around a long time, knew everybody, all that stuff. And so he was kind of taking her under his wing as a young songwriter and believed in her, so set up that first demo session and was pitching the song around, and it was that was coming up, it was less than a year. My first hold on that song was Keith Segal put it on hold for Liam Womack, because he was, I think, like England wanted to produce some tracks on her greatest hits record, and ended up not doing that, so it came off hold. But then he was producing Terry Clark, put it on hold for her, and then she ended up not cutting it, and so he played for Alan, and Alan put it on hold and cut it. So,
Love it.
which any of those I was
Right.
thrilled to have hold to buy, and would have been over the moon, and then it found a really good spot.
So you said something I want to go back to. You said my first publishing deal.
Yes.
So how does that work in the songwriting world? You just get a publishing deal, you stay at that published forever. Everything's amazing. You write amazing songs.
Yeah, they don't even look at how much money they spend.
Right?
They don't even look at
Tell me about that, because you talk about cuts and bruises a lot.
Yeah.
So tell me kind of how that fits into the whole publishing world and keeping a deal and getting a different deal and all the things.
So, I had this great, so the Climb podcast stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. And so I've been blessed that really the Lord had created leverage for me by having an Alan Jackson song that was going to be like the next single that I'm publishing on, because nobody wanted it, right? I would have signed a single song on it if somebody just told me I was pretty. But they didn't. So I still had publishing on that song, and so that really gets people to be interested in meeting with you and all that good stuff. And so I got offered a publishing deal by Major Bob Music. They offered to take that song off my hands. I declined, just because I wanted to know that they believed in my future. And foolishly they did. And didn't want me to just pay them to write for them, which would have been the case if I brought that song in, because we knew it was going to make money. And Alan Jackson said, well, he always was number one. He doesn't know when he cuts my song,
right?
But it always was top 5. But and so I kept the publishing on Monday Morning Church, but signed a publishing deal with Major Bob, and basically how that worked was hey, we'll pay you this much per month. It's recoupable, which means when we hopefully get cuts on the songs that we own the copyright for, we'll split the money basically, to pay back what we're advancing you every month. And so that's kind of how it works. So they get, the coffee was strong, and the writers' rooms were comfortable, and they would, the pluggers, we had 3 pluggers, and so they go out and pitch songs and do demos and try to hook me up with better and better writers and get me in good rooms and all that kind of stuff. And all I had to do was produce hits, and for whatever reason we got cuts, but nothing that really popped. So I was there in 2005, so that started January 1 of 2005, and I was there for 05, 06, and 07. And so it was, I want to say November of 07, and I've been writing a little bit with Hillary Scott. I knew her before she knew Charles and Dave, which would eventually become Lady A. And so she and I wrote the song, and that predated the band that they played in all their shows. And so I went out and saw them, and just first time I saw them live, I was the cash register, whatever, the dollar signs, oh, they're great. They are so good. Hey guys, remember me? Want to write? And so we did. And so it was on a Tuesday, and they had a couple things on hold, and so this was for the first record. And so Hillary texted me on Tuesday, and they cut a song of ours, I think, called Last Night Last. She's like, it's magical, it's so great. And then on Wednesday, I had a meeting with Mike Doyle, the guy from ASCAP, who ended up being my plugger, and they dropped me. and which basically meant they're not going to renew my option for that, a 4th year, which would have been a negotiated option kind of thing. And then the next day, Hillary texted me that they'd cut another song called The Woman Scorned. So it was an up and down week. Okay, well that's great. Oh, that's not good. That's great. I guess this will be all right. But that's just how business works sometimes.
Right.
And so basically why I got dropped is because I've gotten a random Travis cut, but it was on the show for a couple of years. I got cut by a guy named John Pierce on RCA, and his record deal never really came through, never put a record out. So you got all these maybes, but nothing that really turned into cash. And I'm okay, we're spending this much on demos and this much on his monthly, and they kind of I think, maybe possibly even when the Lady A stuff hits, they're great, we'll get our money back, we're good. So, which is fine, I was in charge of all that stuff. I was not happy about it at the time. But then eventually got another publishing deal, got another one after that. So just bounced around a little bit and just still trying to figure out how to do this thing.
Right. And now you're your own publisher now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And which I was before. So I'd set up my own publishing company through ASCAP back in 2000, when my buddy Tim cut a record that, we co-wrote just about every song on it. So we went ahead and set up a publishing company and that sort of stuff, just to have it, and which ended up being great because that way when Monday Morning Church got cut, I just put it under that publishing company. So that was always under, at the time it was called Cowboy Chords Music, with my ASCAP company. And then, so the stuff I wrote in between deals went into that. Stuff ever since has either gone into that, or now I have another one through BMI, which is another PRO. So yeah, I've been self-published off and on and kind of throughout,
Yeah.
Which has advantages, disadvantages,
Right. It's ups and downs.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Follow up, right?
Sorry.
What you're talking about.
Yes.
Why did you switch PROs?
Great question.
Because I've heard that happen.
Yeah, so I started ASCAP just because that's where those guys I knew from Little Rock that were starting, the company said, we go here, sign me. I'm okay. So that's why I joined ASCAP. And it was, I had some good relationships there. My buddy Chad Green, he's the one that picked up the phone and called Major Bob, said, hey, I heard you're looking for good, young writers. Well, Brent here just got an Alan Jackson cut, and you want to meet with him? They're like, yes. Well, I dropped a CD off there like a month ago. The same song, I never heard back from you. But that's relationships, right? Somebody they know, like, trust, picked up the phone and said, hey, listen, Subway CDs, yeah. And that's, I go way back. So we took the tablets. And anyway, just over time, my relationships over to Ask just kind of atrophied. I didn't really have anybody over there that was championing me, so I didn't feel as connected there. I'm happy to see him once a quarter in the mailbox, but that was it. And then when I started writing more of the Southern gospel stuff, like everybody in that world's BMI. And just talking to people there, going, okay, BMI pays better for Southern, and they're more involved in the, like when they do their Christian awards, like Southern gospel is represented there. So I'm like, okay, that may be a place then I can get, since it's becoming a bigger part of my portfolio, if they pay better on that, and also give them more respect, and maybe I can go to some more networking things and get my flag flown and that kind of stuff. So I ended up making the change there. So, and then of course COVID hit. So when I was up for like a double award and had a number one, then they never even did anything that year. So I was like,
It's fine, everything.
I shaved my legs for this.
Right?
Yeah.
For what song?
The Southern thing was called "Can I Get a Witness?" It was the number one song.
The Sound.
The Sound, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. So with Jason and Kenna. So.
One more question and then we'll open it up for questions. So you don't live in Nashville anymore.
Correct.
That's a big question that a lot of people have. How do I make it as a songwriter and not live in Nashville?
Yeah. Well, it's incredibly difficult to make it as a songwriter if you do live in Nashville. So we can start there. Just expectations set
Right.
really hard if you live there. And not any easier if you don't. It's more possible now than ever, I think, in one sense because of like Zoom writing, just that kind of stuff. And more, so I think more people do live out of town. But at the same time, there's just so much that goes on in town. You need to kind of operate and have boots on the ground in town. Like even the Monday morning church thing, if I hadn't moved from Little Rock, I could have still been in that cubicle and it still would have gotten cut because my co-writers, she got it to the guy that got it to the guy that got it to the guy. So really me being in town did no good for that song. It definitely did good for me after the fact. And so it's building relationships, it's going, and you're more able to do that through stuff like Songwriting Pro is giving, like you've met a lot of people through that and the climb, and so I think that's part of it is take advantage of what you have here with the technology. If there are people coming through and what community there is around this area in Branson, I'm not sure what all there is. I know there's a lot of entertainment, obviously.
There is an
the Branson
incredible
thing.
community of songwriters here. It really just blows my
Billy
mind.
Yates is in
Yeah, he's back in
Branson.
Branson.
Yeah. So partly it's like don't neglect that.
Yes.
Like I'm really glad I didn't neglect this little college girl that was a good writer, but I want to write with hit writers. She is a hit writer. That wasn't her only hit. She had stuff with like Luke Bryan and Leanne Womack and other stuff. So I got to her early,
Right.
So I think that's a big thing is being consistent, being intentional with building relationships, reaching out to people in Nashville, take advantage of the NSAI opportunities. I mean, I was just teaching at the songwriting seminar, I guess it was called, as part of Tin Pan, so you can get there for that. You're going to meet people that don't live there, but you'll also meet people that do and get a chance to kind of sell yourself a little bit and just making friendships and writing the best songs you can and just get them into people's hands that can say yes to whatever yes you're kind of at the level of. It might be a publisher, it might be someone listening at a PRO, getting stuff on the ones to watch list for NSAI, the various things they do, and just working that and not quitting, and also looking at, is there an artist locally that you believe in that you can get independent touch with? Because you never know when they may upscale and blow up. Because these days, and always people can blow up from anywhere, but it's even more, doable these days.
Right.
And just, always keep your eyes open for opportunity and how you can be a solution to somebody's problem.
I love that. How you can be a solution with somebody's
I always want
and
to
it
show
goes back
as
to
a solution.
relationships, right? I mean, that's the key thing, relationships.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's open it up for questions, and then we'll talk more about some stuff that you've got going on.
Cool.
This might have been covered at the very beginning, or maybe in a while.
You just finished the introduction, you're good.
Didn't catch some of it, but you make a full-time living with songwriting.
Yeah, songwriting and Songwriting Pro. So that's like, those are the two big things that, are related. So songwriting and talking about songwriting, coaching songwriting, doing workshops and stuff. So yeah, those two things.
What was the journey from whenever you first started writing back in '94 or whatever, to whenever you knew it's like, okay, I'm doing this full time now. I was like, what was that journey?
So 94 I was in college, and then after that, after I got out of grad school, I was working full time at a day job in Little Rock, and so I was writing at my desk, on nights and weekends and whatever I could get away with, and doing that sort of thing. So I had a day job. I moved to Nashville and swore I wouldn't wait tables, but I needed to eat, so I was willing to do that to get to Nashville. So I waited tables. Ended up getting the gig actually at Blue Water Music. I had a roommate, so I moved in with my uncle's mother-in-law, so my aunt's mom. But anyway, so I didn't really know her, but she lived in Nashville. She had a room open to rent for she had a couple of rooms open, and so I moved in there. It's like, okay, I can mow the lawn to help take, knock some off the rent, and that'll give me a chance to get my feet on the ground. It's fairly cheap. And my roommate knew that, hey, Blue Water Music, which is a publishing company in Nashville, they were looking for someone to help with the admin stuff. I was like, great. So I knew a guy that knew it because it's not publicized anywhere. And so I went and interviewed for that. Didn't get the gig, but I knew a lot about that company because I knew a lot of their writers, like who they were. I didn't know them personally, but I knew the catalog, and they were like, oh, wow. And so they were impressed by that. But then somebody else knew how to use that particular database software system, and I didn't. And so I went in to start waiting tables at Cracker Barrel, and then Blue Water called me back 2 weeks later. The other person had to quit the job for some reason, and so they hired me. So I ended up with 2 part-time jobs, just doing data entry and stuff, and eventually I went full-time at Blue Water, and this is all royalty and admin side stuff, so spreadsheets for days. And I'm not built for that.
Which every creative loves.
Loves,
Right.
but it got me to the row every day, and I love that. And I got to hang out with Jim Lauderdale and Tim Krekel and Charlie Stephan. I love that. So, but that allowed me to quit Cracker Barrel. And so I was doing that full-time in writing. And it got me to the row every day. And then after Alan kept Monday Morning Church, and then Blue Water also offered to take the song off my hands, and I politely declined. But soon after that, they ended up they figured out this guy's gonna be a writer, and so they canned me. And so that's how I became a full-time songwriter. I got fired from my day job, and just I guess I'm gonna be full-time now. And that really pushed me to try and get a publishing deal. And because I was I did the math on okay, if Alan goes platinum and it's not a single, this is what it bring in. I don't need to quit my day job. And they're like, you're quitting your day job. Your day job is quitting you. And so so that was a nice kind of segue into that, and that helped me get the publishing deal, and then did that, and eventually had to, when I was out of a deal at one point, had to go. I started doing some part-time work at the NSAI. I was working on the weekly workshop, flipping CDs and stuff, and doing coaching and mentoring for them. And so I did that part-time. Eventually, got another publishing deal. Ended up working at Starbucks part-time, and we started having kids for the health benefits. And then eventually left the publishing deal and had to go get a full-time day job for a while, just because my wife was done with it. And so did that, and then was eventually able to quit it when Songwriting Pro, and we honestly just felt the Lord leading us to get back in. So I started building Songwriting Pro and the podcasts and stuff during that time. I was day jobbing and not writing much for a few years, but started building that with the hopes that I would be able to then quit the day job, which is totally out of this business, and that would give me a good platform, a stable platform that I could write from. So that's what ended up happening. So then I was able to get back into it. And so in a way, it's Songwriting Pro is my day job, but it's all songwriting, and it all feeds the writing feeds Songwriting Pro and Climb and all. It's all incestuous in the best way, as a good Arkansas would say. So anyway, that's my weird journey.
After your first cut, that was kind of
Oh yeah.
That had enough capital to it in order to support you until the next.
Yeah,
that was way before digital streaming.
Well, because Alan's single came out in 2004, so Napster was a thing. That was the big thing.
Right.
But because it became a single, then that was big money. And then I had the day job not the day job, but the publishing deal, which paid me every month. And so I was living off that. So yeah, that allowed me to go full time. So I didn't have anything else for years. I was just writing full time. Then off and back on.
Your 10-year plan.
Man, hey, Nashville.
94 to 2000.
Man, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
really.
they call Nashville the 10-year town
Yeah.
for a reason.
The thing is, it happened fast for me though, because it happened like become my first major cut 2 years after moving to town. That's fast. Now I went through all the bruises and stuff, just kind of in the different order, but I still got kicked around probably just as much as anyone else in a 10-year town. I just did them in a different order
Yeah.
Why is it called 10-year town? I didn't catch that.
because this crap ain't easy. Pack a
Pretty
lunch.
Oh.
They say it takes 10 years to get overnight success.
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Pack a lunch.
It's
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else got questions? I sure hope so.
Hey, song plugger, are any good?
Song players.
Song plugger?
Are song pluggers any good?
Yeah, and are they for real?
Yeah, there are ones that are for real, and it's like anything else. The best ones, the hardest ones to get interested in you. And of course, I don't know your music, but I'm saying just in general because they keep their rosters smaller so they can serve them well. A lot of writers these days are independent, even if they have track records, that sort of thing. So basically, what an independent song player would do is you pay them a salary or a retainer kind of thing each month, and they have it set up different ways, but then they work your stuff and try to get your songs cut.
You recommend any personal?
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of his name. Cheryl Blackman has been doing it for a long time. There's him. There's Shane Barrett that's, legit. My buddy Ray Hamilton at Song Placement Pros. He's been doing it. I don't know those. I know some better than others. And there are others that are independent, I guess. There's just kind of people all around doing that. Just as kind of the number of publishing companies that kind of declined and the number of staff deals available. There are more writers out there willing to pay for that. And so what they do is, you pay them. You may pay them on the back end. They may have deals. All deals are different. It just kind of depends on what you can negotiate.
Was Shane a plugger for Demolition?
I think he they're one of his clients basically. Yeah.
I think NSAI has a list that they can send you
I do.
to of some
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about song players, you want to be careful. There's an inherent moral hazard in there to go, well, I really like to feed my family. Here are these songwriters that are willing to pay me. They can fall into there are a couple different ways they can fail you. One is they have hearts of gold, but they just don't have the Rolodex. In other words, they don't have the connections to actually get a worthy song recorded. They just don't know the people. But they take your money. And maybe they mean the very best, but they just aren't able to get it done for you, in which case you don't want to be paying them because you're not going to get it done for you, despite their best efforts. Others are like, I can get people and I can make up tip sheets and tell you I sent this song to so-and-so, and how are you going to know? Because if you knew that person to ask, you can send them yourself.
Right.
And so those are sharks, and you've got to watch out for those. And then there are, a small handful that know what they're doing, are legit, and can get songs heard and get legit listens, and they're going to be the hardest ones that are to get to say yes to your stuff just because they got options.
Well, and that's one of the services you provide through Songwriting Pro is the opportunity every month to meet with a different either publisher or A&R rep to meet artists looking for songs, and so.
Yeah, so I don't do any direct plugging.
Right.
I'm not a song player except for myself. But we try to provide opportunities. I mean, you've made events like that. Rachel has as well, I know, and had the chance to play your song for a publisher, an A&R, producer, an artist, or whatever, or hit writer, to try and get on somebody's radar in a good way, and hopefully
Which is
knock
open the
your songs
door
out.
to relationships.
Yeah.
I haven't necessarily got a song cut, but I've been able to build relationships with some different publishers, some different artists. It goes back to that like, trust, and so it's opened that door, to go to the next step.
I would say I actually got my first take a copy because of a connection through Brent through one of your events.
Awesome.
So that was my
Which
first
one was that? The
Mark Forrest.
Forster. Okay, great. Was that the hands dirty?
No, Naomi and I are still working on that.
You're working on that one? Okay.
Yeah, she's kind of had a little surprise bump in life.
Oh,
Yeah, baby number 5.
oh.
So,
Literal pup.
Yeah.
so yeah.
Brent knows how that feels. He's got like 17 kids or something like that.
Yeah.
I gotta start
so-
out up and then some.
So yeah, we're still working on it, but actually it was completely different, you haven't heard this.
Oh, okay.
Actually Adam Weber, and I, but again, if I had not had that opportunity to pitch to him, build that relationship, I wouldn't have had the relationship to say, you said email you, so I'm emailing you.
Yeah.
And he's like, absolutely, I'll take a copy of this.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily for what he's doing, but for artists.
Yeah, because he does so much production stuff
Yeah.
for other
Right,
artists.
so it was a take a copy of the production side, not necessarily for
Yeah,
Yeah.
the foresters.
But that's just a matter of having the right song for them.
right.
I mean, I didn't know them. I just heard that they were looking for songs, and somebody, sent me his email or something. So I didn't know him either. I just sent him some songs, and he loved a couple of them, cut them, and
He's a legitimately nice person
Yeah, he
who
is.
will email you back
Yeah,
and
it's
is just a nice human being.
that's awesome.
So I'm changing gears in my songwriting
Mhm.
experience altogether. I've performed all my life, and I wrote for my band, performed for that. But now, as I'm getting older, I'm wanting to switch gears and write for other people.
Mhm.
My challenge in this area is finding the right producers, the right production, and the right people to sing on the song. How well do you think when you're pitching to these publishers, these demos need to be, is it worth the travel to say some of the bigger studios in Nashville, or?
I don't think that's necessary. I think, especially for publishers, if a publisher's worth their salt, they can hear, like, okay, so you're a performer, so I'm assuming you can sing, right? So a well-sung, simple guitar vocal or piano vocal for most songs would be sufficient for a publisher to go, oh, that's a killer songwriter. That's really what they're interested in. It's great if you bring them a great song that, all else being equal, yeah, they'd love it if you just brought a song that's full demo, they can go play this for Carter tomorrow or whatever. Yeah, that would be awesome. But really what they're looking for is a writer with something to say, somebody, they're not looking for the golden egg, they're looking for the goose, right? And so they should be able to hear a simple, good thing. But, and my theory on demos, especially if you're playing for publishers and stuff, is you can keep it clean, keep it simple. It's better to make sure it's what you have is quality versus like, oh, this has all the bells and whistles, but the bells and whistles are from like 1985. Like, oh, I guess I'm gonna put everything on it, but everything but the 21st century, So you want to be careful about that. But if you can get a great sounding demo, there's people that do that stuff online. There's so many people that do stuff, just right in the box on their, their bedrooms or whatever that you can find online through places like, what are some of those sites now? Like, is it like Sound Better? And I'm trying to remember some of those. But those marketplaces, you can check people out and hire people to do that stuff without the travel. But publishers ought to be able to hear a simpler thing. Now, when you get to pitching for artists and A&R and stuff, then that may be a different question. But sounding awesome is always better than not sounding awesome, but it doesn't always mean it needs to be like a full thing. For a publisher to know, is this a great song? Are you a great writer? Are they interested in getting to know you more? Because it's really about you than just that one song. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
When do you get a demo done of a song?
It just depends on the song. Some of the people, like the people I wrote with today, one of them is as a track guy, meaning like a producer can do the demo, and one of the other people is an artist. So, they really dug the song, so they're going to work up a track, and then Chris is going to sing it, and boom, we'll have a demo that might be something for him or something we can pitch around. So a lot of that happens more. That's part of the math that goes into setting up a good room. That's a value that someone can add, is somebody can be in the room and build and basically produce something without they're spending their time. I don't have to spend my money. I love that. If they're good at it, that helps people get in the room. But yeah, it depends. I don't do a lot. I haven't done like my own demo session in a long the time. I've sent some stuff out to a buddy of mine who came to One Stop Shop. And I've done that, going, hey, we'll kick in $300 or something, and Mason will do it, and it sounds great. Yeah. So it just kind of depends on case by case. Other times, my co-writer publisher may do the session and they'll bill me. That happens.
They're Mason Douglas.
That's right. Just texting with him today about basketball, about college basketball.
So how do you know your song is ready for a demo?
I mean, it's all opinion.
After we send it to you for feedback, right?
Even then, now you just have one more opinion in there.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's, I kind of look at it on the sliding scale like, okay, is this something I want to spend how much on? Okay, do I think like there's enough of a realistic outlet for that? So I do those kind of calculations in my head, and there's not a clear answer. Like, you just want to make sure that everyone on the song is really happy with it, really fired up. I also like to think, okay, where would we pitch this if we were to do it? What's the outlet here? So I try to do a lot of artist rights where it's more like, if you want to demo it, it's because you're considering it for you. So that that changes the math on it, because like, oh, rock on.
Right.
And we get a lot of stuff that's not very expensive. Like, used to be go and do a demo, 5-song demo session. You set it up a couple weeks ahead of time, and it's like, $3,000 for like a 3-hour session, $800 a song, get 5 songs. I guess that'd be 8 times 5, like $4,000. That kind of stuff. Everyone splits out their part of it, but now you can get them, cheaper, and still get a good quality product. So yeah. Apparently I don't know, because otherwise every demo would be cut right now. So I don't know. You just want to make sure that for me, is it really well written? Does it feel like it has like a big bullseye? Like, there's a lot of places we can go with this, or at least one really like strong place we could go with it. What's the money like? You're balancing that. I mean, like, Southern Gospel demos are pretty cheap, right? Because even in success, you don't make a ton of money off it by any means. So they keep their demo costs low. Sometimes you just pitch work tapes, that kind of stuff. So
it just depends, yeah.
yeah, I mean, if it sucks, you don't demo it. It's awesome. Yeah, go for it.
Are you familiar with, I think it's a relatively new site called musicversal.com?
Kind of rings a bell, but I'm not familiar with it.
I've never done it, but they charge a flat monthly fee to produce your songs. And they have just artists kind of from all over, and you can apparently do Zoom sessions with them, with the musicians or the producers, and they have a monthly fee. I think it's like $199 a month.
What's it called? Musiversal?
Musicversal.com.
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't have any experience with that. Not really, so I do not have an opinion on it.
I think it's relatively new. I just wondered if you.
Yeah, I just heard about it recently, I think, but.
Oh, you have one. She's
Yeah. Anybody else have questions?
You talked about having songs on hold. How long typically would a song be on hold?
So how long would a song be on hold? So a hold is basically when someone on the artist team says, dibs, basically. Like, we want first crack at this. It all depends. I mean, sometimes it may not be on hold very long because they drop the hold or they cut it. Other times you just may never really hear back, and after a while you're like, anything? Oh, the record came out. I guess it's off hold. Other times, if it's, I don't know, if it's George Strait, you can have it as long as you want. Like, just let me know when you know. Because I want a George Strait cut, and take 10 years if we need to. I'll wait. There's not a set thing. It's got like a handshake deal. It's not a legal agreement. It's just, hey, So feel free, depending on your relationship with that person, or using publisher as a go-between or something, to check back every once in a while and go, any word on that? And they should understand, like, you only have so many great songs, and don't hold it up if you're not going to cut it. If you're going to cut it, great, but if you're not going to, come on, set it free so I can try to make a living. You can also get backup holds. I would just be upfront about, hey, this is on hold for Dierks Bentley, but I wanted you to hear it. I think it's awesome. And so they know ahead of time. And sometimes they may go, well, yeah, give me a backup on that. Like, if Dierks doesn't cut it, we're next in line. That's happened before. I don't think as many holds are out there like there used to be, because there's not as many outside songs getting really cut or considered, and I think people are just being mindful of that. And a lot of people kind of go in and cut as they find stuff, or at least the bigger artists do, just because the recording process has changed. So I still get some holds here and there, like we'll in Southern world get holds. And, I want to probably just need to start pitching again because it's been so long. And I really are back, but.
But you basically agree to stop pitching if it's on hold.
To me, it's a. I will at least let people know if I decide to pitch like there's another really good pitch, then that may encourage someone to pee or get off the pot.
Right.
If somebody else is interested in it, like it may just make that song sound better all of a sudden. Like, oh, they're interested. All of a sudden it sounds better. Or, them going, we're probably not going to go ahead and run with it. Just get something back. So.
But it is that courtesy thing, because you don't want to ruin
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
So,
And so you want to communicate with your co-writers and let them know, hey, so-and-so put the song on hold, so everyone's on the same page, so they're not running out, and somebody else thinks they got first crack at it when they don't, that sort of thing. So, if something's on hold, I tend not to pitch it, just until I know something else, because I got other songs, and just want to keep it kind of clean and, not ruffle any feathers, but, but I've done that before, where I pitched stuff that's on hold, and I was just upfront about it. And if you got two people wanting to hold a song at once, that's a good problem.
right.
Okay, next question. Do you write much country anymore? Or
Okay.
like on a regular basis?
Mhm.
So, from your perspective, what trend are you going after as far as
For country?
these days? 'Cause it's really changing.
Yeah, it is. I do a lot of write with artists, and so it's kind of like, well, what do you need, right? So I'm in the service business, so I'll show up and try to write something for that artist that is particular to what their lane is, what their brand is. If it's something that's more just me and a buddy, and neither of us are artists, and it's a mix. Sometimes it might be more that 90s country kind of sound, but with more of a modern lyric. Other times it may be pushing more that kind of, Morgan Wallen kind of chair throwing country music. We're gonna edit that out, right? We're gonna edit that out.
You said modern lyric. How would you differentiate like modern lyric to what you might have been used to with like 90s country?
Yeah, it just might be, some of the references, some of the language, some of that kind of stuff. It's really just kind of a feel thing. May not be as like tongue-in-cheek as some of the 90s stuff was, although some can go there. Some of it's starting to come back as well. So it's a total feel thing.
We could write a song about sugar daddy issues.
That's definitely not a 90s thing. So I don't know what that is, but it's whatever it is, it is. It certainly is.
issue.
It is, it's a thing.
He wrote a song called Sugar Daddy Issues, by the way, if you go look it up, it's
It's
out.
bonkers. I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is, but I know it's out. Yeah, I guess all this really matters.
Do you have a question?
Yes, when a publisher wants your song, has your song for pitching purposes, and it's not a contractual thing, that it's an agreement.
Mhm.
And so what's going on with that?
So if you just have
They have thousands of them, and it's just in a big library.
well, if they have enough of their own stuff that they're not just looking just to gobble up every single song they can just on hopes of it. Not any sort of good publisher would be that way legitimate, because really then they're just inviting more phone calls from you. Well, anything going on with my song? And I ain't got time for that. So if it's, I'm not sure how many people are still doing what would be considered a single song contract. So that would be like you sign a paper, and we can talk about that too. But I have some stuff that's been like kind of handshake deals with publisher friends of mine going, let me send this to so and so and see if they bite. And we just kind of have a handshake deal going, okay, if you get that cut, we'll split the publishing. Because I own my publishing, I can do what I want with it. So if you get a cut, then great, we'll split the publishing. That way they have no money invested, they made a phone call or two, an email, and for them it's found money because they didn't have to pay for the demo, they're not paying a draw. So I'm like, sounds like a co-pub is fair. Because you got years of relationship building, but as far as no monetary investment in me. So that seems fair. So, you have something like that that's kind of handshake, but they got to know you and know that you're, they want to feel you out and know that you're not crazy, you're going to be causing problems and that kind of stuff, or just screw them over, go, nope, not giving it to you, or whatever.
So there's a possibility that if you had a national publisher with one of your songs for pitching, that some people may have heard it or heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be upfront with you going, hey, I'd like to pitch this around. They're not, like, if you send it in, they're not going to go pitching it without contacting you. Odds are if you just send it in without knowing anyone, they're not even going to hear it.
Right.
But they're definitely not going to be pitching it around without, talking to you, feeling out what's going on with this song. First of all, that means they love it. They're going to want to talk to you and find out, who's the goose that laid this golden egg? You got more? You got any more than good songs, man? So.
Great question.
Yeah, Mitch Pell.
Man.
So, I've been writing lately in a much more specific genre, like the 40s jazz, kind of that stuff.
Cool.
And I don't know where to even go to pitch that, because that doesn't totally seem like a Nashville kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know where you go for that. I'd say, okay, look up on Spotify or Amazon or YouTube Music or whoever, like, who does that kind of music? And start backtracking from there, going, okay, are they on the label? Are there labels that do this? Or are they all independent? Do they write all their own stuff? Where are the opportunities? I would think if you can sing this stuff too, there might be opportunity in the sync world for like film and TV, for certain types of uses, but you kind of have to reverse engineer it and go, okay, who are the people that do this? Where's the opportunity there?
I have a couple in mind, but I don't have like direct links. I mean, there's a couple that are like, yeah, I would love for them to hear this, to hear these, and consider them. But I just didn't know if you would do someone specifically in that.
No, I don't.
Have you tried to connect with them personally yet? Or you haven't?
Oh, no, not yet, because I don't have demos yet.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm looking, is to get just some basic demos, and then, so I would be ready to show them something.
Yeah.
I wondered when you were going to talk, Tom. I've never heard you this quiet in all my life.
Well, you're not hearing me quiet.
I know, I was throwing that up. I heard you just quiet.
You know what?
I heard you. I know.
Right?
So, Nashville split, LA splits, what's the split world for you?
Nashville general splits are, we call it word for a third, right? Even splits, whoever's in the room, we'll split this. If we were out of song tonight, we're going to split it 15, 18 ways, however many people are in there. LA, that's a different beast. I've not done the LA thing, but then it can get chopped up all kinds of crazy ways. When I worked at Blue Water Music, we had some like hip hop stuff in the catalog that we would admin for. And you got this guy with like 2%, somebody with 18, somebody with 35, somebody with, all that. Like, that's crazy. There are like 18 writers on this.
Wow.
And it's not split evenly. It's having to do with like who had the leverage in there and who was the whatever. Nashville was like, we don't even talk about it. It's just assumed. Even splits, everyone in the room. I do not remember the last time I had a conversation about how we want to do splits on this. Why, are you new?
Right.
It's even. What? Like, it's not even talked about. But that being said, it was more a topic of discussion, when I was newer, when the people I was writing with were newer, and we just want to make sure that we understand what the ground rules are. I'm a fan of even splits all the way across because, like, if Sundi Jo and I are writing a song, and she's pushing back on some line, and we're, I want to know that she is pushing for the best interest of the song and not her best percentage of the song. Then we don't have to worry about that. It's all even. So hopefully, now we might be fighting for ego purposes, but, which, hey, that's a thing. But at least it's not like fighting for the money thing. So I think it frees you up to kind of, let's just serve the song. Everybody's share is going to win equally if something happens. And plus, I'm not a conflict kind of guy, and I would just feel weird going, I think you only deserve 45.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I do not have the emotional capacity for that kind of drama.
Yeah.
And so everybody's happy in there. Sometimes, man, sometimes I contribute more than other days. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just a cheerleader and typing it out.
Yeah.
But it all kind of goes around, comes around, evens out over time. If it doesn't, you won't be in those rooms, or they won't be in those rooms forever.
Yeah.
So it all works out.
In my three-way rights, we always joke that, I think it's .01.
Exactly.
Right.
Whoever fills out the paperwork.
Yeah,
Whoever
right?
checks that. Exactly.
All right, we'll do a couple more questions, I think, back here. Did you have one?
What do you think about sync writing?
Sync writing, man, it's growing. There's a lot more interest in that from publishing companies I know that I've bumped into, just because sync writing is anything synchronized to video. So that's exploding with all these streaming channels and online content and all this stuff. And one thing that helps with what we can earn is actually not, doesn't have the government interference and price setting that we deal with as far as like regular commercial recordings, what goes on radio, or what goes on, records, if anyone bought a record. Like you actually negotiate for the value of your product. And so prices tend to do better when people are left in the free market can negotiate. So it pays better and it's growing. And so, a lot of people like that. Since I do so much country, Southern gospel, and bluegrass, I don't write a lot of stuff that has a lot of use in that world. But it's great, and I'm open to it. They like one-stop shopping, so if you can, easy to clear, because some of the stuff happens fast, and they're like, we love that song, and if they can go to just one person who's the artist and the writer and the producer, and they just need to get one yes to clear it, that they love that.
Yeah.
And I'm not that guy either. So I haven't done it that much, haven't really aimed at it. I've written a couple things to pitch around that world, but I think I have some stuff supposed to be coming out some low budget movies later at some point, but the guy that works at the production house to do that called me and goes, I need some redneck lyric. I'm like, so that was kind of writing for that specific project.
Andrew, did you have a question?
That was actually my question.
Okay, perfect.
It seems great if you can get it. I mean, it's growing.
Yeah.
As a songwriter, have you written any songs that have had success with second chorus? And what's your opinion of having a second chorus?
An alternate lyric on the second chorus. I was trying to think if I do. Probably. I want to say one of the Lady A things had a different chorus. It ended up being a bonus track. Let's see. So I try not to change them up that much. Try to keep them pretty consistent. I think if it's the right thing for that song, that's what you do. But so part of that is we want to keep it easy to remember so people can sing along with it. And you're worried about, is it harder for the singer to remember? What's the kind of the burn rate on the song? If it changes, that could help people not get sick of the song as quickly if it has an alternate second chorus. I just try to take it on a song by song basis. I don't go looking to do that, but I'm not rigid on refusing to do it. If I think it makes it awesome, great.
Serves the song.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm sure
I
that
didn't know
one or two cuts that way.
if there was a Nashville no-no for that, or
And that's one of those things that trends and cycles and any answer I come back at you with has an expiration date on it. Nobody knows what that date is, but things change over time.
Well, a good song also changes the trend.
Yeah, the right song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nobody's doing that until somebody does and they blow up with it. Now everyone's doing it.
That everybody wants it.
Right.
Is that what we want to?
It's old.
Right.
I guess that's my biggest pet peeve with that, is that we're afraid to be original.
Right.
And it's, the whole thing about being original, sometimes that's just a cop out for I don't know what I'm doing, and so it sounds different. I'm just being original because I haven't really learned the craft. Other times it may just be because I do the thing that's different, but it's really cool. So that's tricky to know the difference. It's kind of really learn the trade before you learn the tricks of the trade, or learn the rules before you go around breaking them. It's a lot of times it's oh, I just don't sound like anybody. Yeah, there's a reason nobody else is doing that either. Starting out. But then, if you though have a thing that you do that is really quality and well done, it may take longer to catch on. But if it does catch on, then there's only one place they can go to for that. And another thing might be where the co-writing comes in to kind of soften some of those edges or bring oh, there's some familiarity, but then there's some cool different stuff that you bring to it that, I don't know.
Well, tell us about Songwriting Pro.
Okay, camera's off. No. The website started a while back, songwritingpro.com. That what we do every month is like a community and a membership. Certain stuff kind of behind the membership wall, but members only things. But what we do like every month, we have what's called a jam session, which is kind of like this, only on Zoom. It's acronym stands for Just Ask Me. And so we do Q&A once a month. Save it in the members area. Basically, the whole point of Songwriting Pro is to help you write like a pro, do business like a pro, connect to the pros. So we, on the education part, every Monday we have this thing called the process, I guess is how we should call it. Email some sort of resource. Every month we have a different topic. This month is A&R and labels. So kind of curating different interviews I've done with people that are A&R people or whatever, label people, and sending that to your inbox. It's in the members area, so we're helping you on the write like a pro and do business like a pro. Every month we're doing some sort of opportunity to connect to the pros. One is the jam session, but the other thing we do like Know the Pros, which are online Q&As. The next one we just announced with Doug Johnson, who's like exec over at Black River, which is Kelsey Ballerini's label, and a hit songwriter.
I just watched him last week at 10 Pan South.
Oh,
It was
cool.
incredible.
Yeah. So he's gonna be coming on to do an hour Q&A. So we do that stuff. We do like what Rachel and Sundi Jo talked about, opportunities to get your song in front of pros, different lanes of pros, whether they're artist, a producer, publisher, that kind of stuff. So we do those on a regular basis, and we have a good time. And what am I missing on there? We have great hats.
Yeah. So besides the great hats, one of the services that I've used through Songwriting Pro is that Brent has opportunity to work with other professionals, and I've definitely taken up like Donna King, Steve Dean, Bill White, and help me out. Of course, you.
Yeah. Jen Schott.
Yes, Jen Schott, thank you. And I've used those services. I definitely have more of a personal project. Well, I've had 2 personal projects. And then ultimately ended up, pitching one. But it was great to be able to go directly to a pro and say, as a lyricist, and say, hey, you've got great musical talents, let's co-write this song together. And so that was really beneficial. Again, because you're talking about, connecting with pros, building relationships. These are, people that I have been able to, email back and forth with. But yeah, that was a really great
So
service.
that's our coaching. Thank you. Our coaching and coach writing. So coaching would be, we have some pros like Jen Schott just had a #1 with Tim McGraw. Steve Dean's had #1s like Alabama and George Strait. Bill White's had like bluegrass and southern and country. And Donna King is a southern gospel artist. Zane and Donna King, and also writes country and southern stuff.
Phenomenal people.
Yeah, just good people. Yeah, they are good people. So there's opportunity for like coaching through there, or coach writing, which is like actually like, hey, let's write a song. And we got 2 hours. Let's see what we can do online. There's that. There's song feedback, which you're probably familiar with through like NSAI. I would imagine it's pretty similar to that. I do that.
Except we know who's giving us feedback.
Oh, true. Yeah, I have nowhere to hide.
And I take it very personal because I know it's Brent and I get my feelings hurt.
But you're still here.
No.
I want her a 5-minute head start before she's allowed to leave the room.
Right.
I don't want her going out first.
Get dark outside.
No, so the previous discussion, absolutely. I sent some oddball stuff into Brent, and I'm literally like, can I get away with this? Like, this is like a very, like, this is first pass rough lyric. Like, is this too far out there? Because before you actually really approach a co-writer or something like that, it's like you get a pro's opinion, and Brent is always honest but always kind. You will not get your feelings hurt. But yeah, I definitely do that. Where I will literally send some.
He does. He can stab you in the chest with the most gentle.
Well, you need to hear it, right? Because he will literally in the online form, like, what's your goal? Is this to make your Mimo happy? Or are you looking for a commercial cut? And if you're looking for a commercial cut, obviously he's going to review it from that angle versus I'm writing a song for my meanwhile, she thinks everything I do is great, you know?
Yeah.
But, and if you say that, hey, he's gonna be very honest with you about that. But yeah, I try stuff out. I'm just like, hey, bro,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, am I just too far out there with this lyric? And he will give me the honest feedback. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll tone this down or take a different direction or something like that. So yeah, his feedback service is really great, whether it's a lyric or a song.
I thought of something earlier that I forgot when we were talking about relationship building and doing the pitch events. Brent had an artist there and I brought a song start. He actually didn't pick my song. I mean, you did, but the artist didn't because he said it didn't kind of fit into his wheelhouse. But I connected with him on Instagram and just said, hey, I'm so-and-so, you picked my song, blah, 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 blah. I have some other things I would like to send to you if you're interested. Yeah, send it my way. And then we ended up writing together. And
That was
so,
a buck, right?
yeah. And so, I mean, he was accessible, he was willing to listen, but also I wasn't just like showing up as some, hey, I'm a songwriter, can I send you something? It was, hey, we met here, let's build this relationship.
Yeah, and he's putting stuff out on Canadian radio,
Mhm.
and he writes for Anthem Entertainment, which is
Yeah.
a publishing company in Nashville, and you know, so he's legit. I mean, I wrote with him today,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, not that this is brag on Brent's session, but one of
I
the
mean, it can
things.
be. Don't make it not that.
I'm hurrying before he can't fit his head out the door.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I really appreciate as a lyricist is that Brent will have opportunities, whether that's pitching, whether that's a pitch to write event. You know, you're with the artist, and again, to me, it's a big deal because you know, writing lyrics, I can send in the song start. I don't need a co-writer because again, I played Guitar Hero once. That's my extent. You know, my musical abilities. So
I can play the heck out of a yellow chord.
So provides that opportunity that whether you have something that's like you've paid Nashville Tracks $1,300 to produce this demo, or literally you have a verse chorus, song start, Brent provides that opportunity. And again, that's a big deal to me because I don't have the musical gifts that other people have. So I appreciate that you let us send in song starts that are lyrics only.
Oh, heck yeah.
And I
I know the pain, I know the,
right?
no, that is.
Songwritingpro.com.
Yep.
Do you still offer a 14-day free trial?
Yeah, 14-day free trial. Actually, have a gift for y'all. So if you go to songwritingpro.com/NSAI, if you can remember that NSAI.
What's that stand for?
Yeah, my parents were always like that NISA that you help out with.
Did I hear a niner?
Yeah. They always get it wrong. NISA. No. But if you go to songwritingpro.com/NSAI, like I have a free download, the 6 ways to make your songs more commercial. So PDF, just a little gift for letting me drink your water and sweat in your warm hair.
So let's talk real quick about the Climb podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you want to know?
Every week, every Tuesday,
Every Tuesday,
right?
every Friday, wherever you get your quality podcast. So we're in all the places. Climb is an acronym because I like acronyms. So if you look it up, you've got to do the C.L. I wish we
Those are called backronyms.
Backronyms, yes. So it stands for creating leverage in the music business. But we've been doing this for 7-8 years now. Like we have like 700 episodes or 600 something. It's crazy. So there's a rabbit hole for you. But yeah, it comes out twice a week. One of the, we're starting to do more interviews. My co-host is a music marketer and producer and stuff. So he usually takes like one Tuesday and he'll talk about something in that world, marketing, business, tech, whatever. And then I'll take a songwriting the next week. I do songwriting, publishing, whatever. And then we just kind of swap off that way. We do different interviews. We do some really fun stuff called the Song Title Challenge every other Friday. We'll bring in like another pro writer, and Johnny people can send song titles in. I know you have them done, and then they'll spring it on us, and then we'll just riff on it and go, oh, how did you write that? It's exit 141 or whatever it was. Like, what do you do with that? And so she sent one in, and Johnny picked it, so I don't know what it is ahead of time. And then she had Jamie Johnson from the Grassicles, and I just like riffing on it to go, you're right. I don't know. And so just to kind of model like how pros think about it and twist ideas and think about ideas, just, hopefully infotainment.
I got my first single song contract off of the Song Title Challenge.
Is that Flowers?
Yeah, and we have an artist actually getting ready to cut that song. Going full circle, right?
I love that. That's awesome. That's
But,
great.
yeah, it's an awesome podcast. There's so much to learn. Go back and binge listen to the episodes. Or I think you can binge watch them now, right? Are they on
Yeah, they're on YouTube. So if you look up the See a Dell Climb
Yeah.
on YouTube.
A lot of great free information.
Can I ask one more question?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Have you ever had Johnny on as a guest? Because I think his story is crazy. He,
I feel like you get that all the way through and all the
No,
episodes.
I mean, like official guests on the Songwriting Pro side, because like his story is
Oh, okay.
crazy. Just like he's in this hair band, and then like Nirvana happens,
Yeah.
and then like he's in real estate, and then now he's got this awesome business in Nashville. I just really think
Yeah, I do need to have him
He does
on for
have
like
a
another pro or something.
it would
Just
be
have a
really
Q&A.
encouraging. I
Yeah,
think
Johnny's great. He's a great guy.
because you think your path is like this, and then it goes like
And
this, and he's
yeah.
the perfect example of that.
Yeah, because he was hair band, like hanging out with Allman Brothers down in Florida, and then sniffing a record deal, and then Nirvana came out, and they just pulled the record up on all the hair band stuff. Then he went out to, he's out in LA and doing tech stuff and sales, and real estate. And then 2008 happened, and they pulled the record up on the real estate business.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, I can fail at anything. Anything can go belly up. Might as well go do music, which I love.
Yeah.
So now he's with production and marketing.
He cut his hair, and now he has a great name.
He does. Yeah.
There you go.
His hair went from like way down to up.
Right?
Yeah, I just need to have him on sometimes.
Yeah, he's great. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
hanging out with us tonight. So, Brent won't talk about it because he's too humble, but he's got like 1,200 kids.
Something like that in the ballpark.
And how many kids do you have?
5 going on 6.
And how many of them are adopted?
3 going on 4.
From China, correct?
Yeah, 3 of them that we've already adopted are from China. We work on getting a little
Yeah.
right now.
So, of course, like I said, he's too humble to talk about it, but they don't just have kids, they have kids with special needs.
Mhm.
And so, you know how much emotional space that takes, but you're getting ready to adopt another one. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, it's just Lord led us to a little girl in Lithuania that we weren't looking for, but we're just trying to be obedient and do what he said to do. And so we're months into that process, and hopefully travel this summer, and then we'll be have 6 kids.
Yeah.
So she's that'll be a thing. That's a whole situation.
Yeah.
And
And
so
so,
that's like a menstruating pain on that.
right. You really did a really great podcast episode talking about just how the Lord led you into that.
Yeah, that was.
Send it to me and I'll send it out.
You have to look at it. That was Courtney Whitney. It was like songs from the Big Red Band, or Tales from the Big Red Band, or something.
It was such a great episode.
So someone we met in China,
Yeah.
when we were adopting at the same time. So she ended up starting a podcast all about adoption and people's stories and stuff. So that was fun to go on there and
Yeah.
make Emily talk on the record.
Yeah, it was
She is
a
the
great episode.
anonymous half of our partnership.
She's the one that keeps things together.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to see people.
Right?
Yeah. I got
Well,
people who just-
You didn't ask me to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. So adopting children is not cheap. So if you feel led to sow into that at all, how can we give to that?
We have a website. We're doing a thing called Both Hands, but thank you. We did not talk about this ahead of time.
You're welcome.
We're doing a Both Hands project, which they're out in Nashville, and kind of what the deal is, like we'll work on kind of get, how people do like, hey, sponsor me, I'm running a 5K, or sponsor me, I'm going to play a round of golf. We're doing a thing like sponsor me, we're going to go work on a widow's house. So we have a lady that's a family friend, that's a widow, and so some of us are going to get together and do some work around her place and get sponsored for that, and all the funds for that go to fund our adoption. So widow on one hand, orphan on the other. From James 1:27. So that's what we're doing. So there's a website for that, which is somewhere I can send it to you.
Okay, yeah, send it to me, I'll send it out.
If you want to donate through that tax deductible,
Awesome.
help us. We're down to basically like travel expenses, basically. So we're gonna have to be in Lithuania for 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Which,
Thank you.
Yeah.
so
All
I'll do anything to get away from my kids for 3 weeks.
Right?
Go get my everything straight off. So everything's straight
Yeah,
off.
you didn't think that through.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight, and we just really appreciate it.